Hi, this is Kevin. Welcome to my tutorial on installing Anaconda on macOS. And this is a tutorial that I'm creating for my courses that use Anaconda and Python at the University of Illinois School of Information Sciences. And my comments here are really geared to the students in my course. If you're a YouTuber who found your way here, you're welcome to stay, but keep in mind that this is really geared for the students in my course. Okay, so here are the things that we're going to cover. One, we're going to make sure that our copy of macOS is up to date. Two, uh, what if you already have Anaconda installed on your Mac? Are you going to install it again? Well, the answer is you're not. We're just going to skip ahead a little bit and we're going to update Anaconda. Okay. If you don't have it already installed, you're going to download Anaconda and then you're going to do the install. Then we're going to just do some of the basics about how to work with Anaconda at the command line. We won't be really using Anaconda at the command line very much in my classes, but you can do a couple of interesting things, including updating Anaconda. So I want to make sure that we cover that. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to work with Anaconda Navigator. That's the graphical user interface version of Anaconda. That's the one we're going to be using most frequently in my classes. And then using that, we're going to create our first virtual environment. Uh, and it's going to be for the Python course that I teach. So it's going to be called E4 Trainer Python course. And then the very last thing is we're going to test that we created a proper virtual environment that can do the right things. So let's get started. We're going to begin by making sure that macOS is up to date. Okay, now, why do you want to do that? Well, um, we all want to start essentially at the same place, right? And I've had experience with students who are having problems with an install, and they'll discover that they've got some problem, and I'll say, well, have you updated the operating system? And they'll say no. And I'll say, well, update your operating system and try the install again. And surprisingly, it works. So that's the kind of problem we're trying to head off. So currently, I'm on my Mac, but I've created a macOS virtual machine. So this is a clean copy of the operating system so that I can show you how to install this stuff from scratch. And here's a couple of things that you can do. Okay. You can come up here and click on the apple in the upper left and then choose System Preferences. And no, that's not what I want to do. Uh, let's undo that. Okay, so we're going to click on the apple and then we're going to choose About This Mac. Okay, and it's going to tell you what version of the operating system that you have on here. And if there's an operating system update that needs to be applied, you can go to Software Update and it's going to tell you what updates are ready to be applied. And you can just click the button to apply them. And that might take a while, but it'll get you to the point where you have an up-to-date copy of the operating system. Now, here's a good point for me to say that when I am recording this today in August 2022, I'm going to be showing you the versions that are current today. And this video is going to have a life of at least a year. So here's what I typically say. Whenever you're doing this, use the most recent version of whatever software we're working with, macOS, Anaconda, Python, those things. Unless in the instructions for the course I've told you otherwise, that's what you should do. Okay? All right. So I don't need to update mine, but you might have had to update yours. All right. So what's next? What if you already have Anaconda installed? Well, if you already have Anaconda installed, it's probably not up to date. Okay, so bear with us while we do the download and the install of a fresh copy of Anaconda, which usually is not completely up to date even after you install it. And when we get to updating Anaconda, you can join in. Okay, so what are we going to do for downloading Anaconda? All right, well, let's just go find it. So I'm going to open up Safari, and as you can see, it thinks I'm completely new. And we're just going to go to anaconda.com. Okay, and I'm going to accept my cookies. And you can see that right here, there's a button for download. So that's where we're going to go. Now, over time, this changes, right? So we've had, 2 years ago, when you came here, you had to choose to download the personal version. And then a year ago, it had been repackaged and it had some other kind of name. Okay, what we want is the general free version of Anaconda. So today, when you go to the site, you get that by clicking the download button. Okay, but half a year from now, it might be slightly different. Okay, do I want to allow downloads? I certainly do. So there's my download starting, and I have a pretty fast connection, so mine's going to be ready pretty quick. And I'm going to open the Finder, and I'm going to go to Downloads. And there you can see the package. Okay, and I'm just going to highlight it and then double click it. And it says it wants to be installed, so I'll click Allow. And now I have the first of the installer dialog panels. I'll click Continue, and then Continue again, and Continue again, and then I'll agree to the license. And then finally I have to click Install. And it wants to know the password for my virtual machine. So I'm going to have to type in that. Okay. Yours would be the password for your Mac. And this takes a little while. Says that time remaining less than a minute. So I'm just going to leave this here and trust it to be done in less than a minute. So what does Anaconda do? Anaconda manages all the Python packages that we need in order to run our Python environment. And it's pretty typical for Python users to pick and choose a custom assortment of these Python packages, where they're just parts of the Python infrastructure, and assemble them into this thing called a virtual environment that will be the version of Python that we're using for a particular project that we're doing. So in my Python course, okay, we're going to create one virtual environment that's going to work for the whole course, right? And so that's what we're going to be doing. So what's it's downloading now, or what is it installing? Well, it's downloading uh, the current copy of all the Python packages that it has access to that are the time machine is backing up, so I'm just going to silence that. Uh, uh, it's downloading the current version of all these packages that are at the repository for packages that's under the control of Anaconda. And what the Anaconda people have done is that they've curated this so that they have a sort of a tested configuration of Python packages that you can install that you've got pretty high confidence that are not sort of in conflict with each other. So this is a pretty good way to do this. And as soon as I begin to rely on less than a minute, it seems to be taking longer. So I'm going to pause and I'll be back when it's done. Okay, we're back. And I think we're almost done. It popped up a control here. It wants to know if it can have access to my downloads folder. I'm going to say okay. And as I remember, it finishes up pretty quickly after that. Just want to make sure you guys saw that so you won't be surprised. And sometimes when you do these things on a virtual machine, they run a little bit slower than they would just on the actual machine. But here we go. So now we're done with the installation. So I'm going to click continue. And then I'm going to click on close. And it wants to know what to do with the installer. And I'm going to say move to trash. It's pretty big and it's just going to be using up space that I don't really care about. Okay, so that is installed. All right. So we're going to close the browser and here we are. So we've done the download. We've done the install. Let's work at the Conda command line a bit. And then once we're comfortable with that, we'll go on to updating Anaconda. But before we're going to work at the command line, it'd probably be good for us to go out and get the command line cheat sheet. And I should have done that before I closed the browser. So in the browser, I'm just going to type in Conda cheat sheet. And let's see here. There's a Conda cheat sheet 4.14 documentation. That looks like the most recent version to me. This one down here. And cheat sheet 4.1.2, that's an old version. Conda 4.6, I think that's the one that we want. So let's click on that, and we're going to download that. Okay, now I can close the browser, and let's just go find that. That's in downloads. Okay, and it's a PDF, and you can put it on your desktop or whatever. I already have it on the desktop for uh, my Mac, but I wanted to show you how to get it. And when you open it up, it's just a cheat sheet for working at the command line with Conda. And as I said, this isn't something we're going to do a lot of in my course, but we're going to do a little bit just now, and it's an opportunity to see how to do things. So let's see what we can do here. Up at the top. So here are some of the things that we're going to do. We're going to use Conda Info to just get information um, about the install. Okay. Uh, uh, Conda Update. And let's see. There's the Conda list. There's all kinds of stuff. So if you really want to work at the command line, hang on to this. Okay? I'm just going to minimize it. And again, this is acting just a little squirrely because it is a virtual machine. All right. So Conda command line basics. So how do you get to the command line on your Mac? Well, many of you know how to do it, but others don't. So the command line app is an app called Terminal. And typically, you don't have it in your dock to begin with. So you have to find it, and then you want to add it to the dock. So the easiest way to find it for me is, well, you could go to Launchpad. Let's go to Applications. So let's go to Applications. And I always like to change the view to lists, so things are ordered by name. Okay. And if you look alphabetically, there's no terminal, but it's in Utilities. So we open up Utilities, and we scroll down some more. We'll find Terminal. So we double click it, and it fires up. And before we go over to use it, let's just come down to the dock, hover over the icon for Terminal, right click, choose Options, Keep in Dock. Okay, so now we're always going to know when we get to Terminal, it's going to be in the dock. Okay, and let's make this a little bigger. And the default font size for the terminal is a little too small for me. And with Shift Command Plus, you can just increase the size. And that made the window bigger, but it made it a little bit easier to read. Let's even make the type a little bit bigger than that. Okay. Okay. So I can tell that Conda's installed, and here's how I can tell. When I look at the prompt here, I can see all the way over on the left side, I see base in parens. And it turns out that base is the name of the base or the default virtual environment for Anaconda. So it shows that's what is being currently used. That's not the one we want to use in my course, but that's the one that's currently there. So that's how I know that Anaconda is there. And I can also, at the command line, I can type conda space info. And it's going to give us a lot of information about Conda and what's installed. Okay, so we can see that the Conda version is 4.12. I don't think that's the most current version. The most current version is 4.14. So we're going to have to update this. It's not uncommon when you do a download of package software that the download has a recent version, but not the most recent version. Okay. Another very important thing is these env directories. We're going to be creating these virtual environments. We're only going to create one for the Python course. And we're going to have to point to it from time to time. Okay, so we're going to have to remember where it is. And right here, we can see that it's in users, trainer one, that's my ID, .conda envs. Okay, so they often refer to these virtual environments as envs. Okay, so that's where that is. All right. So let's do an update. Okay. So the version that I always use is this conda. Well, I'll get an extra space in there. Space update space dash all. Enter. And it's going to do some thinking. Okay, so now it's looking in the repository to see if there were newer versions in the repository than we just installed. And there are. Here's a list of them up here. This is a new version of Anaconda Navigator, for instance. And we're going to want that because we're going to be using that. Okay. So I just want to point out that this is, if you already had Conda installed, right, and you want to update it, here's where you started. Now, how did we do that? Well, we typed in conda space update space dash all. Okay, and it shows you what it's going to update, and it asks for a Y or N. So I'm going to type in a Y, enter. And now we're going to see those things get downloaded into the repository, and that's it. Okay, so now let's do, let's clear the screen because it's kind of busy. Clear. Okay, that helped. And let's do a conda info. And we can see a 4.13.0. That's pretty good. Okay, so that should work for everybody, both the people who just installed and we did a quick update, or the people who already had an installation, but it was probably out of date. Okay, now that's how we bring it up to date. Okay, so we're going to get away from the command line for now. And one kind of nice way to tidy up when you're done with a command line window is to type in exit, E-X-I-T, and it closes it all up. And now you can close the window. Okay. Now, we're going to do most of our work in my course in Anaconda Navigator, which is the graphical user interface version of Anaconda. Okay, so it's installed, but again, we don't have an icon for it in the dock. So let's go open up Finder and go find it. So it's in Applications. Okay, and it's alphabetical now. And I'm going to pause 1 second to reconfigure something. Okay, we're back. I had to reset the scrolling to work in the way that I like it. So here it is, Anaconda Navigator. Okay, so I'm just going to give it a double click. Okay, so here's Anaconda Navigator. So we can go up to the menu and click Anaconda Navigator About. Okay, and the most current version as of today is 2.2. This has been around since 2016, so not really all that up to date, I guess. Um, if you have an earlier version, it may be it may be offering for you to update it. It should have updated when we updated Anaconda, but it is possible to just go through the dialog and to do the update. Okay, so what are we going to deal with here? Well, we're going to deal with these virtual environments. And over here in this left-hand navigation panel, we're going to choose environments. And you can see in the middle panel is a list of all these virtual environments. And the only one that's in here now is called base, and then in parentheses says root. And this is the base configuration, and it has like tons of packages in it. Okay, and it's not going to have the combination that we're looking for. So, could you try to just use the base? Yeah, you could. You kind of be losing the benefit of the package. So we're going to create a virtual environment for use in my Python course. And how do we do that? Well, we go down to the bottom of the middle panel and we click on Create. And first we have to name the environment. And we're all, in my Python course, both the students and the instructor and the graders and the TAs, we're all going to use the same name, okay? And it's going to be E4, which stands for Environment 4. This is something that I dreamed up. Underscore, okay, trainer, that's my name. That's how we know it's my Python course. Underscore Python underscore course. Okay, E for trainer Python course. And this, all lowercase words separated by underscores, is a Python convention for, well, we use it for variable names and function names, and it's called snake case. Okay, snake as in serpent as in Python. Okay, so that's what we're going to use, E for trainer Python course. And we want Python included. Okay, we're not going to be using R, so we're not going to check that. The version of Python that we want is a little bit newer than 3.9.12. We're going to be using in the current semester. In the current semester, I'm recording this for the fall of 2022. We're going to be using Python 3.10. Python 3.10 has one new feature that we're going to include in the course. And if we use Python 3.9, then we won't be able to use it and practice it. So in any given semester, if you look at the instructions for doing this install, it will tell you what version of Python to pick. Okay, so we're going to look here, and there's only one release of Python here that's 3.10. It's the last one, 3.10.4. Now, if you're doing this in a half a year, it may be 3.10.9 or 3.10.18. Always use the newest version unless I've warned you off in the instructions for this install. Okay, so the name, E4 Trainer Python course, Python is checked, R is not, and we've picked 3.10.4, which is the newest version of Python 3.10. And we're going to click Create. And if you look at the bottom right, there's a window that shows that it's fetching the packages that it's going to need to build that virtual environment. And again, what it's doing is it's assembling a curated collection of packages that we can rely upon to be consistent with each other. Okay, so there are a bunch of packages in here that we didn't expressly ask for, but they're all part of this Python infrastructure. But let's make sure we got the version of Python that we're looking for. These are always in alphabetical order, and we can see Python 3.10.4. So it looks pretty good. All right, are we done? Well, we're not. And why is that? Well, there's one more group of packages we need to install. You can't just check a box for when you generate the virtual environment. And that's at the very end of the course, we work with Jupyter notebooks. And in order to get the packages for that, we're going to have to specifically add them. So how do you add a package once you pick the Python that you want? Well, in this right panel here, we have a list of all the packages that are currently included in the virtual environment. Okay, it's not that long. All right, so if we come up here to where it says installed, okay, and click on it, now we're going to say, oh, in this list, show me what's not installed. Okay, so now this is going to be a much longer list. You can see that's much a longer list. And then if we come over to the right and click on the search, we're going to type in all lowercase Jupyter. Jupyter is Jupyter, Py as in Python. Jupyter. And press enter. And now we're seeing all this Jupyter stuff. And the easiest thing for us to install is this a package that has the name Jupyter, and it's the Jupyter meta package. It has everything. So let's click that. So we click that to install it. It gives a little arrow, sort of a download arrow. And so now we have to come to the lower right and click apply. And we see some action up here. So it's looking to see all the packages that would get installed, and it's a lot. Okay, Jupyter has a lot of parts. Okay, so now we need to further apply. Let's click apply again, and you can see that it's really installing the packages here. And while we're waiting for that to happen, I forgot to do one thing with this Anaconda navigator. We started it up, but we didn't configure it to stay in the dock. So let's hover over this green circle, right click, pick options, keep in dock. Okay? And if I've already done it, then I apologize. It's definitely there now. Okay. All right. And this is going to keep going. All right. So, how long it takes to load all the packages is going to have to do with how fast your computer is and also how fast your internet connection is. And mine did pretty well. Okay, so that's done. Now, it makes a lot of sense. We're looking at the non-installed packages that match Jupyter. So let's go up here to the this thing that says not installed and click on it again and pick installed. Okay, and let's go over to the search box and get rid of Jupyter. And now we should have the basic list. So we've got a lot more things, but if we go down and look at the Jupyter stuff, you can see now we've got a lot of Jupyter packages as well. Okay, and that's it. Okay, so let's look at where we are. Okay, we updated Anaconda. Okay, we worked with the navigator. We're going to learn another trick or two with the navigator. Okay, we created our first virtual env, and we called it E4 Trainer Python course. And now let's just do a little testing to make sure that we've got the right things in there. And I'm going to show you two ways that you can test. And they both really come down to, well, I don't know how to describe them. They're a little different from each other. So on the right side of your E4 Trainer Python course, there's this, looks like a play button. Okay, so left click on that. And now there's a bunch of things you can do. You could open a terminal. Yeah, you could open with Python. You could open with a Jupyter notebook. So let's begin by opening the terminal. Okay. Oh, yeah, let's just open the terminal. And underneath it wants to know if that's okay. And I hate it when these things get over top of each other, but I said that's okay. And again, here we are. And I'm going to use the Shift Command plus to make it a little bigger. I just want to show you that currently we're in that E4 Trainer Python course. So if you go to that play button and you right click and then you pick open terminal, it opens a terminal that has our virtual environment activated. Okay, that's all I wanted to show you there. So I'm going to exit that and close that. What if I said that I wanted to open with Python? Okay, well, it opens a terminal with Python, and again, I'm going to make it bigger. And you can see it's Python 3.10.4. So we're at this kind of Python command line. It's called the REPL, all caps REPL, read, evaluate, print loop. And we'll talk about it in the course. But you can type in Python commands here and it executes them immediately. So if we type in print paren and then in apostrophes, hi mom, and then enter. Oh, I forgot the closing apostrophe. So I meant to say print apostrophe hi mom apostrophe close paren, and that prints hi mom. So how do you close out of this Python command line environment, the REPL? Well, you can type the name of a function called quit, Okay, paren, paren, and it quits it. And now we can say exit and we're done. Okay, so it runs the right version of Python. That makes sense. Okay, could we start a Jupyter notebook? We could. Okay, and I'll show you how to do that. So open with Jupyter Notebook, and it's going to fire up the browser. That's how Jupyter notebooks look. And I'm just going to go to the upper right and pick a new. And I want a Python 3 Jupyter notebook. Okay. And I'm going to have one cell, and I'm going to type in some code, and I'm going to say print hi mom. Okay. And you execute a cell by entering a shift and an enter. And there's the output right there. All right. So everything's installed. Everything works just fine. Looks pretty good. Okay. Um, so let's close this notebook. Okay, just the notebook here. Leave the page. Okay, and then up here on the base page for Jupyter, we have to quit the Jupyter engine, the kernel as they call it. So we're just going to, in the upper right, we're going to click on quit, and it says it's been shut down. And we're going to close the browser, and then we're right back here. So everything's installed just fine. Okay, so let's try one more thing. Okay, let's close the Anaconda Navigator. All right. All right, so that's closed. Now, could we have done that testing right at the command line if we thought we were a command line person? Yeah, we could have. So how could we have done that? So let's open up a terminal. Okay, there we are. And let's make the type a little bigger. Okay, that looks good. So we're back in the base environment. Oh boy. Uh, so one of the things that we want to know is what are the environments that we've created? Well, there's a couple of different Conda command line commands that will do that. But one that works really well is conda space info space envs, envs. And I'm sorry. Let's try again. Conda info space dash dash envs. There it is. See, you can always forget. So we've got the base virtual environment, which again, I'm not going to recommend, but we can see we've got E for trainer Python course. And when we get over the next install that you're going to do for the course is you're going to install PyCharm. Okay. And when we are configuring a PyCharm project, we need to point it at a file within the virtual environment. And then we'll have the question, well, where is the virtual environment? It's somewhere down in my file system. Where here's how you can always find it. Get to the command line, okay, and then type conda info dash dash envs, and it will show you all of the virtual environments and where they are. Okay, so how do we activate a virtual environment? Well, you could look on your Conda command line cheat sheet, or you could remember Conda space activate space and then the name of the env. So E for trainer Python course, and see it pop up over on the left side. Okay, so how could we run Python and make sure that we're connected to the right version? Well, we could type Python, enter, and there it is, 3.10.4. All right, so let's quit that. Okay, and how can we be sure that we're ready to run Jupyter? Well, the command line way to start up Jupyter is to type in Jupyter, remember with a Y, space notebook, all one word, enter. And here we go. We're right into Jupyter. Okay, so how do we get out? Well, we need to quit so it turns off this Jupyter engine or kernel, and it stopped the server. And now we come out and we are right here where this is all the stuff that ran the server. And we're done, so we're going to type exit and we're going to close it. So that's it. We did a little bit more command line than I actually thought we were going to do. But you have Anaconda completely installed on your Mac. You're ready for the next tutorial that I have on installing PyCharm. So find that and move on to that, and I'll say bye until next time. Bye-bye.